I get a question right out of the gates. Why is Jahdae Barron not signed to a contract yet?
Usually, and I think in this case, it's guaranteed money, how you're getting it, when you're getting it. I don't think this will be an issue. The Broncos, including free agency, J.K. Dobbins signed in minicamp, let alone they don't jump out as quick as some other team, but there are only 2 first rounders. But I don't who are unsigned right now, and I don't see this as an issue yet. I think this is more the details rather than some kind of statement on either side. Those things are slotted pretty close, so it's always about the guaranteed at signing. Always key when us or fans or anyone looks at a contract, don't ever read the words worth up to. You want to know what's guaranteed at signing, and I think that's what this is about.
If it should become an issue. Because, as you said, the kid from Cincinnati is the only other kid, right?
That one's kind of ugly. I think the Bengals, for some reason, are really hard line in that one. I'm not sure of all the details, but I don't think the Broncos case is like that one.
But specifically, let's say no coach likes it at all. How much would Sean Payton hate it, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's why I don't think it'll happen.
Right.
I think they have plans for this young guy in the defense. Coaches, especially Sean, he's been around long enough to know the business is business and it will get done when it gets done. But I think they have a lot of contract wheels in motion. I would think one of these, veteran guys is going to get an extension at the start of camp or right before camp too. So there might be some of that in there. And frankly, they're like the rest of us. When mini camp ends, that is really the only legislated off time of the off season in the NFL. And frankly, everyone goes. They don't like admitting, hey, I was gone for a couple of weeks, but everyone goes this time of year. And I would think this will get done. And unless I hear something differently, I always say that. But from what I've been told, this is not an issue.
Well, that's good to hear. I still don't understand why it would be. For some teams, it becomes one. For the Broncos, they've taken care of everything. Hey, how about that story that was unearthed a couple days ago? Pablo Torre and company about possible collusion in the NFL. The way we read it, we went through it, just sounds like negotiations. The Broncos didn't want to give Russell Wilson 7 years guaranteed. Who would?
Right. And, this was a grievance that, everybody knows owners don't want to give fully guaranteed contracts in the NFL. They just don't. And everyone knows that all of the owners thought the Cleveland Browns made a horrific mistake. But this was a result of a grievance, a very specific grievance filed that the owners had participated in talking to each other about limiting guaranteed money at the owners' meetings that followed Deshaun Watson's signing, and that they had given a presentation about, let's be careful about all this guaranteed money you're all handing out and all of those things. That's what this grievance was about. And the arbiter ruled, the proof is they did discuss it, the possibility of colluding, but that they didn't meet all of the 3 levels of things you have to meet to legally have colluded. But they did talk about it, and that's what this ruling said. Here's some emails. Here's the presentation they talked about. To me, and it hasn't been talked about a lot, that if I was a player, the owners don't want to give you guaranteed money. There's no news there for me, but I'm intrigued why the players' union did not reveal this document and participated in sort of keeping it quiet. And if I was a player rep for a team, I'd be asking that question, right now. Why? There are emails in the ruling from J.C. Treader, the former player president of the NFLPA, of criticizing Russell Wilson and why they shouldn't give him guaranteed money. That's not what you do as a union guy. I mean, my dad was in the railroad. You're all about getting as much salary for your membership as you can. It's not, you don't rip the other guys to limit their pay.
Just on that subject, I know that the players would obviously want fully guaranteed contracts, and I know the owners obviously would not. Let's just say that it happened, that all of a sudden, you know what, everybody gets a fully guaranteed deal. Do you think that helps or hurts the NFL product?
I think the underlying thing is that a lot of the stars already have almost fully guaranteed deals, almost right down. Like Peyton Manning hasn't played. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's been out for years. His contract with the Broncos had almost every single dollar guaranteed. And that was back in 2012 when he signed it. So this has existed for the star players. This is really about, fully across the board guaranteed, down the depth chart through everybody. And the issue for the owners always is that even the players say the injury factor is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And, even in the ruling, they had emails from owners presenting, look, I'm fine giving guaranteed money. I just don't want to give it to bad players. Yeah. So that's a lot of the issue. But, again, it's, a lot of rookie contract, the entire first round, all of those rookie contracts are almost fully guaranteed already. So it's a lot like life. At the top of the food chain, everybody's doing great, but the middle class and the lower middle class are having a lot tougher time. And that's why I think the PA should spend a lot more time about health care after guys retire. That's what would take care of some of these other guys. Because if you're on the, most guys, if you're on the roster for the opener, your contract that year is guaranteed. So there's a lot of textures to this, but I don't think it'll ever be like baseball or even the NHL. But that Moj can speak to more than I can.
All guaranteed.
It is really interesting that you mentioned that, because that's something I've noticed over the last few years in the NFL, and I think the NBA has this problem too. There's a middle class problem in those leagues where it's just like they're non-existent. It's either somebody is making a boatload of money or people are making like none, minimums and stuff like that, which I don't even know how you mitigate that. Especially a quarterback. How many times do we see the example of the quarterback who's not worth the biggest contract in the league, but they're going to get it because they're just the next man up sort of thing?
Right. Market value, the old market value thing. Market value is what somebody will give you for all of us. My market value is what my employer will pay me, and I think as long as you're going to have a salary cap, you're always going to have a tough ride for the middle class, because to be successful, you're going to have this tier of star players.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have enough talent to be good enough to win. So if you get to the playoffs, you're going to have this tier of star players, and it's already happening for the Broncos. And they just got back to the playoffs, for the first time in 8 years. So, but as long as you have a salary cap, that's going to be the issue in the middle. That's why, again, when player reps have asked me through the years, what do you think of this or this? I think they should spend a lot more time on getting the other benefits for that middle class. So at least when they retire, they can go to the doctor whenever they want to, or whenever they need to. And that would be far better for them than an extra, X number of dollars, when they're 27.
Right.
So,
again, if you blow up your knee and you're out of the league and 3 years later, you got to have it scoped or whatever, right? You're on your own, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are they just don't have the kind of medical care, in my opinion. Again, nobody's asking me, but in my opinion, that's where they could do better for their rank and file.
Overall football question. We're sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers. Are you sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers?
You know,
The only
as
person
a
you get
guy
sick
in
and
the
tired of is
media-
me and your bubble out at camp. That's the only time I've ever seen you sick and tired of anybody.
Well, you know, you're so chatty. That's the problem. You know, I got a
God,
lot
tell
to
me about
do.
Yeah.
I got a lot to do. You're a chatty guy.
He
He
know,
doesn't know
and-
when not to be
He's
chatty.
got his binoculars. He's got his little notepad. He's doing
Yeah,
his scribble.
Look, I fully admit, during a football practice, I am a jackass. There's no question to that.
It's
I've got
okay,
a lot
we
of
get it.
things I'm doing.
Are you? Can you?
Are you sick of Aaron Rodgers?
You know, I don't get bothered by because I sort of don't participate in it.
All
I
right.
don't have to cover him, and I'm not really interested in what he has to say on world events.
He's a
So
phony.
I just move on.
He's a phony.
Are you the second highest paid ESPN employee besides Stephen A. Smith?
You know, I think there's a few people in between me and Steven.
I
I'll
don't
just
know
leave it
about
at
that. I
Yeah,
think it's pretty close.
yeah. Well, that's why my wardrobe reflects that and the rest
Yeah.
of my, you know, because you've known me a long time, Vic. You know how I live my life. So
Sure.
it's pretty much a, you know, making it rain.
Right after
whenever
this
possible.
radio show,
Sure.
PJ to Vegas.
Yeah.
Leggy, one last thing for you. We just kind of went through the numbers last year of the offenses in this division. And when you have a division that features Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, you would think like, oh, well, the Broncos are still a ways behind. Their total yards per game between the three teams were virtually the exact same. Points per game, I know the Broncos defense added some of those point totals up throughout the course of the year, but the Broncos scored the most. Could you argue that the Broncos offense is as good as either one of those teams I just mentioned?
I guess I wouldn't do that yet because the Chargers were adjusting to Harbaugh, and Harbaugh had been very public about saying, "Hey, I'm dialing Justin Herbert back so
Yeah.
we can win more." So I would be hesitant about that. And the Chiefs, you know, Mahomes was just pulling that team along as they go through the transition of trying to hold it all together and still win. So I think, you know, like, I think the ceiling for the Chiefs is way above everybody else.
Sure.
Still, because of who's at quarterback. But the Broncos can get into that number 2 spot, I think, if they get the red zone figured out. I still don't, and even Sean admits this, is that they just didn't have that rhythm you need in the red zone. You know, he keeps saying they have to run the ball better, but, you know, until I see some of those plays coming off the play card and getting called, I'm still going to sort of not believe him when he says that's the key.
Sure.
But I think they can move into that next spot because, look, they have one thing nobody else has. They're bringing everybody back on offense. I think I looked at it the other day, and I think the number is they have 19 of the 22 players on offense in uniform for the opener last year, still on the roster.
I think it's
19.
85% of their roster. It's the highest in the league as far as bringing guys back.
But specifically on offense, they had 22 guys in uniform for the opener last year. 19 of those guys are still on this roster right now.
Jeff Legwold, ESPN.com, joins us every single Thursday. Thank you, Leggy. Always appreciate the time.
Thanks, fellas. Be good.
See you, buddy.
Jeff Legwold, ESPN.com, all conversations with Leggy, brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW Local 68. Start with a job, end with a career.